Hey everyone, I'm thru, the founder of Think Great and the author of the Think Great book collection. And I just want to welcome you here to Achieving Greatness Through Chaos. I cannot tell you how excited I am about this webinar today. This is the culmination of all the webinars that we've been doing over the last couple of months, our Through Chaos series. Our webinars have been goal setting through chaos, leading through chaos, planning through chaos, selling through chaos, thriving through chaos, everything through chaos. And we're bringing it all home today. So for those of you that have been on this whole journey with us, I just want to tell you this will not disappoint. I'm extremely excited about it. And I know what you're thinking, achieving greatness through chaos, through all of the COVID-19 madness happening out there. How can he suggest such a thing? Because it's possible. How many of you on this call feel that your organization can be greater? How many would agree with that statement, that we could be greater or we could be better? Yeah, there's some hands going up. Of course, that's why you're here today. And here's what I'm going to share with you. That level of greatness, whatever you're thinking right now, that level that you can get to will be supported by three distinct pillars: leading, planning, and selling. Your ability to provide your team with leadership development, strategic planning, and sales excellence. We deliver on all three of those, and I'm going to bring it all home today and share some techniques with you so that you can achieve greatness through chaos. Because right now, there is no greater time than right at this moment to start focusing on greatness. But I want to ask you another question, and I'm going to answer it for you, but you can agree with me if you'd like to. I always ask my clients this question when we start. I asked it on a call this morning. What is your greatest asset? If you took a look at your business from the 30,000-foot level and you look down, what would you say your greatest asset is? I'm going to tell you what 99.9999% of the people tell me. It's our people. How many would agree that people are your greatest asset? There we go. They absolutely are. And today is not just about making your organization greater. It's about going to that level for your people, because our people are our greatest asset. And right now they need us more than ever, because we are about to start something that has never been experienced in the business world before: the transition out of COVID-19. And I'm going to throw this out there, that it is often the transition that is tougher than the incident. And what do I mean by that? When I served in the Marine Corps, it was tough. Day in and day out, it was tough for everybody. But sometimes it's the transition back to the new norm, the transition back to your civilian life, that can be the most challenging for many people. When I went to college, it's very regimented. Marine Corps life was regimented, college was regimented, and then you transition into the workplace. The transition can be tough. I was my wife's caregiver through 4 battles of cancer, an incident of cardiac arrest, and that first bout of cancer, it was 7 cycles of chemotherapy, a month of radiation, a stem cell transplant. Everything was regimented. Every hospital visit was regimented. The medications I gave her regimented. The shots in the legs regimented. Cleaning the exit line for the Hickman line regimented. But the transition back to the new norm, the recovery, was challenging. Even during the Great Recession, many of you experienced that. We had budget freezes, pay freezes, hiring freezes, freezes on spending. It was regimented. But the transition to the new norm can be the most challenging time. Why? Because it's not mapped out. And right now, the transition is happening. The transition is happening. We are in that phase. We are no longer in the regimented phase of COVID-19. Sure, there's some regiments, you know, but at one point when we first went into it, it was stay at home, wear your mask when you go out, curbside pickup only 6 feet apart. But now businesses are starting to open. There's a transition phase. And it is during these phases where people often feel the greatest levels of frustration, especially leaders. It can be tough to navigate through all of that, but it doesn't have to be. It absolutely doesn't have to be, because we're going to navigate our people through this, and we're getting them empowered and engaged at the same time. Because as we're transitioning, we're going to transform our businesses one pillar at a time. And what do I mean by that? As we take a look at the 3 pillars of business greatness, all I want you to do is think about how your business can be greater. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share techniques from each of my books. I have written a book about each pillar. I've written a book on leading, a book on planning, and a book on selling. And we are going to talk about that that power of a shared language. And we don't have a lot of time together today, 30 minutes max. And I'm going to accomplish 3 things in that 30 minutes. We have 3 objectives today that I want you to take copious notes on. I want you to take these notes back to your teams so you can empower and engage them. We're going to define your business greatness because everybody raised their hand and said your business can be greater. We're going to understand why there needs to be a power of a shared language, especially now. Don't go into the new norm with the same language. This is the perfect opportunity to get your teams to speak differently, more cohesively, on the same page, speak in the same language. And today we're going to talk about increasing the strength of your 3 pillars. So I have a question for you. You can answer it in the chat. You can write it down. You should ask it of your teams. What would make your business remarkable? What would make it great? We have to identify these things. It gives us something to strive for. During the transition, as we are coming out and heading into that new norm, we don't know how long that journey, that transition is going to take. We have to have things to focus on. These new goals, these new objectives, this level of greatness. Now, we also have to ask ourselves, what could make our business great? Well, some of your peers have told me these things. What if we had a fully engaged team? How many of you would like to go through the transition and into the new norm with a fully engaged, super empowered team? How many are with me on that? How many of you would like your teams to have half of the energy I have right now? It's all possible. Why? Because we're focused on being greater every single minute. That's the question for Think Great every day. How can we be greater? You could have, your level of greatness could be a fully engaged team or empowered leaders. It's the #1 topic I'm training on right now. Unifying leaders, cohesion between the leaders, or unifying our culture. Or maybe greatness would be a better workflow, more efficient, or satisfied customers, increase that customer experience, or increasing sales. Did he say increasing sales during COVID-19? Absolutely. The opportunities are there. They've just moved. Maybe we could be more profitable, more predictable, more relevant. Maybe we could achieve new levels of growth, enter new markets, or develop new products and services. Wow. How many people just got fired up on that slide? Anybody fired up like I am? Darn right. But there's obstacles. I know there are. I know it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. And there's some obstacles that can block our path, and we have to be very aware of them. Could be cash flow. I get it. Could be competition. They're out there. Market conditions. They exist right now. Maybe you have the wrong people on your team. Maybe there's a lack of teamwork or low morale, or maybe you don't have the systems in place that you need. But those are not the major obstacle. There is something that is a bigger obstacle than all that, and it's not COVID-19. COVID-19 will pass. It'll be gone. There'll be a vaccine at some point. We'll be out of the tunnel. The light, we can already see it. We're going to go through the transition together. But there's a bigger factor than all of those obstacles. And this is what I want to ask you. What do you think that key factor is that holds every business back? But once they figure it out, they can launch forward. And here it is. It's a shared language among their people. Again, when you think about it, what is your greatest asset? Your people. We got to get them speaking the same language. We got to get them functioning as a cohesive team. The level of greatness that you want, the goals, the objectives, all of those things are going to be supported by your 3 pillars that are run by your people. Woo! Man, it's all coming full circle right now. This is the exciting part. This is what I live for. I love the 3 pillars of business greatness. Why? It gives everybody purpose. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you to rank them on a scale of 1 to 10. I want you to be honest with yourself. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is leadership in your organization? 10 being best. How many would agree that that's a 10? Oh yeah, absolutely. This is critically important. Leadership right now. Leaders are needed today more than ever. During the darkest of times, we need beacons of hope, and that's our leaders. Let me ask you another question, but about planning. How important is it to have a plan to provide the team with direction as we navigate, even during good times, but certainly through chaos? How many of you would give that a 10 on a level of 1 to 10? I would too. And last but not least, we're going to wrap it up with pillar 3. How important is it to increase unsolicited referrals? In other words, if sales were like fishing, how many of you would like fish to jump in your boat? Would that be a 10 for you? If leading is a 10, if planning is a 10, and if sales is a 10 for you, then this may be the most important 30 minutes you've invested since COVID-19 broke out. Because I'm going to tell you what I normally get when I ask, how are you implementing? How are you achieving these levels? What are you doing for leadership? Tell me about your plan. Tell me how many unsolicited referrals you're getting. A very common number comes back. Most rank them as 0. Leading, planning, selling. They're too focused in the business to work on building it. There's distractions out there, leaders. Let your competition be distracted. Let them allow their 3 pillars to fall apart while you strengthen yours. These are big topics, I know. And in 30 minutes to cover leading, planning, and selling, it's crazy. It's madness. But we've got to start somewhere. Even if you look these up on Google, the last time I looked these 3 words up, leading, planning, selling, billions of results came back. When you look up leadership, business plan, or sales, it can almost be overwhelming, daunting. So we need to slow down in order to speed up. We have to strengthen these pillars. They will support that level of greatness. But I want to ask you a question. How many of you would like to see mistakes disappear from your organization? How many of you, that would be a level of greatness, right? No mistakes. When I was the vice president of the media company, we nearly eliminated every mistake internally. And it was during a time when we grew over 300%, extended our hours, extended our locations, extended our markets, switched from standard def to high definition, and it was during the Great Recession. So it's possible. You can do it. I believe in you. But when you think about mistakes, I want to ask you a quick question. Which one costs you more? Developing a shared language or fixing mistakes? We cannot afford mistakes. Hence, we cannot afford to have our team not connected by a language. And I just want you to dream self for a little bit. Can you imagine if every single day, every single person on your team thought and acted like a leader? How would it feel if people came in and performed at the highest levels of leadership, even if nobody's following them? What if words like dynamic communication were used, or you had high levels of enthusiasm? How many people could use an injection of high levels of enthusiasm right now today in their business with their teams? How would you like to see your teams take initiative, exhibit higher levels of integrity, maintain bearing, not lose their cool, the way they carry and conduct themselves, and embrace the identity of your company? What do I mean by identity? Your mission, your vision, your core values, who you are, not just what you do. That is the beauty of strengthening the leadership pillar. And we can help you with that. But we can also strengthen our strategic planning pillar. And we can increase levels of accountability and engagement. In other words, get people excited to work on the plan. People can innovate and come up with these collaborative, out-of-the-box ideas, come up with solutions for every issue, have vision, share vision, and stretch vision, increase the buy-in of your team. Now imagine for a second as you're strengthening the first pillar and you're developing people who think and act like leaders, and now those leaders are helping you carry out your plan. You're getting closer and closer to that level of greatness. And inside of your plan, the majority of your goals are going to revolve around sales, increased revenue, increased clients, increased markets, increased margins, making a stronger company. Every single person in your organization is in sales. They either sell or they support it. Imagine transforming busy work into productivity, taking your follow-up game to a whole new level, increasing referrals, increasing success, driving passion through the roof, and driving sales to new levels. I don't know about you, but I just got myself fired up. I don't know about you, But as soon as this webinar is over, I'm going to strengthen my leading pillar, planning pillar, and selling pillar. Do you know why? Because I can, and so can you. Now, our words matter. Everything that we're speaking sends a message. Everything makes an impact. Everything we say makes an impact. Everything we don't say makes an impact. Everything we do makes an impact. Everything we don't do makes an impact. And so all of those actions, all that language, it's in our pillars. We've got to start speaking, leading, planning, and selling fluently. Why? Our words will unify our team. Most of the unification that's lacking in the business world today is because people are not speaking a shared language. When I went into the military, I started to speak their language. Their language was unifying. When I left there, when I transitioned back into the workforce, there wasn't a shared language. There was a language spoken, but not a unifying language. It's what we're missing. How many of you would like to unify your leaders and unify your teams even during COVID-19? How many would like to create that cohesion right now? And you can. You absolutely can. But here's the problem. In business, we are not taught how to be dialect coaches. We are not taught how to teach our people how to speak the right language. In fact, the best we get is an IRS checklist to start a business. We get a bunch of checkbox items to start the business. And of course, we do them. I did them. We do them. Even the SBA, they've got 10 steps to start a business. Many of you have seen them. Many of you have done them. But for most of us, it's just a checkbox. It's teaching us how to start a business. It's not teaching us how to build high levels of greatness. And here's what I've noticed. Nobody's speaking the same language. When I go into organizations, they're not speaking leadership, they're not speaking strategic planning, and they're not speaking sales. And if they are, some people may speak this language, some might speak this one, some might speak this one. There is not a cohesion of those languages, and we need it. It is critical. What I am finding, leaders, and you will hear it as you transition back in, you will hear it virtually. This is what people speak, and most speak it fluently. If they're in your company, they should. They should be able to speak about your industry. They should be able to speak about your services and your products and your business. They speak it fluently. If I were to go to a bank, I would hear people speak banking. When we're allowed back into restaurants, I would hear them speak restaurant language, front of house, back of house, all those things. Realtors speak real estate. I get it. And yet we all need to lead and plan and sell. And most people are speechless. They have no words. Now, language is kind of an interesting beast. According to the publication Ethnologue, they did a study on how many languages exist. I don't know how many you think exist, but it was a lot more than I thought. And out of the 7.6 billion people in this country, they say there are 7,099 languages spoken. That is absolutely crazy. Do you know why we need interpreters? It's not just to translate the words, it's to translate the meaning. There's a lot of meaning in the words. Hey, you can look at it in many different capacities. When things aren't communicating right, there can be issues. When your Wi-Fi isn't speaking to Netflix, there's an issue. How many of you have, okay, maybe known somebody binge watching anything on Netflix right now? Because I know we're not doing that, of course. But there's nothing more frustrating than when the internet isn't connecting to Netflix. Or even internally, if our heart and our brain, if they're not connecting, we can have problems. Or if the CRM doesn't talk to the ERP, there's problems. But I've also identified probably one of the biggest and most frustrating occurrences of a language issue. And it happens at supermarkets. Maybe you've experienced it. How many of you have ever went to buy hot dogs and buns, and there's 10 hot dogs and 8 buns? And when they don't connect, then we get confused and frustrated. Yeah, we're getting a lot of people commenting on that, a lot of hands up. How many people want to see a new revolution out there where the amount of hot dog buns and the amount of hot dogs match up? Who's with me on that? It can be frustrating. It can be frustrating when we're not speaking the same languages. Now, when we have weak language of leadership, planning, and selling, some things happen. Some things happen that could hurt our ability to achieve greatness. When our teams aren't speaking the same language, we could have dissatisfied customers. Morale can drop. We might miss our goals. We could increase stress, increase mistakes. We can miss opportunities. Those go right to the competitor, by the way. Expectations are unmet, and we have a weaker bottom line. Maybe now we start to realize why every branch of the armed services starts their people speaking their language first. Because when you have a strong language, the results are different. At the media company, my team spoke duplication, replication, media, films, TV, commercial. We spoke it all. Our greatest levels of success came when we spoke leading, planning, and selling fluently. 303% growth. How many of you would be okay with 303% growth even during chaos? How many are okay with that? We did it during the Great Recession, and we eliminated almost every mistake. We went from 15% errors to 0.35, less than a third. After we tripled our volume, extended our hours. How do we do that? It was a shared language. We were on the same page, speaking the same language. All right. Here's the benefits of a strong language. How many of you would like to accomplish more goals, increase your identity, the pride of the team, have higher morale, earn more referrals, earn new opportunities or find new opportunities, be able to set high expectations, have a stronger bottom line, and increase efficiencies? If you want to do that, strengthen your 3 pillars. If you don't, let them crumble. But when you strengthen them, something else happens. Your culture shifts. Here's what happened at the media company. We started to create a culture where people felt empowered and engaged. There was passion flowing. We were more productive. It felt electric in there. We were making an impact in our teams and in our clients. It was unifying and collaborative. How many would like to have a culture more like this? We did that through the recession too. Now, I'm going to share with you, I know our time is running out, and I'm sad. I'm sad because I'm getting fired up over all this stuff. But I want to share some quick shifts you can make in language right now. For starters, the very first word is change. Change is coming. I hear that all the time. Things are changing. Things are changing. Let me ask you this. How do people feel about change? How many would agree that people hate change, that they fear change? I'm going to tell you the power of language. Here's what I tell my clients. Change nothing. Enhance everything. Change is different. Enhance is better. Be very careful of the words we use. Change nothing. Enhance everything. Also, stop managing people. Lead them. Manage the work, lead the people. Manage shift schedules, manage budgets, manage inventory, manage projects, but lead people, encourage them, empower them, inspire them, guide them, coach them, mentor them. There is a significant difference between those words. And stop selling, for Pete's sake. Nobody likes to be sold. People like to buy. Tell your people, stop selling and start sharing. I've written a sales book. I have a 4-part sales series. I got a deep dive sales program. It is against company policy. I think great for my team to sell, but they are allowed to share. They can share the impact we make. Also, with your sales team, stop having quotas and shift the word to having goals, because goals provide hope, goals give inspiration, goals motivate. And just a quick show of hands again. How many of you feel that people are your greatest asset? Oh yeah, me too. So stop, please. Stop calling them employees. When you were growing up and your career counselor said, what do you want to be when you grow up? How many of you said, I want to be an employee? Nobody. And yet we have this weird name for them. And then we say, I don't know why our employees aren't engaged. That is a non-engaging word. How many of you on this call feel that teamwork is critical for success? Me too. So at the media company, I asked the owner of the media company, who wanted to double sales, but we ended up tripling it. I asked him if he would be open for an enhancement to the handbook, an enhancement to the employee handbook, not a change to it. And he said, what do you have in mind? And I said, well, we keep calling them team members, but the handbook says employee handbook. Can we enhance it and call it a team member handbook so we can hire people to a team? He said, absolutely. We stopped calling them employees and we began calling them team members, and our employees started to function as a team, as a cohesive unit, focused on common objectives, performing for the future. Every single word matters. And yet most of us haven't collected them all from a leading, planning, and selling standpoint and formed a dialogue. Man, I'm super fired up. Now, I'm going to give you some questions. I hope you have a pen. Hope you got some paper. If not, you're going to have to rewatch this and write these questions down, because this is how you assess your pillars. I would love to be able to help you with this. At the end of this, you're going to receive an email with my email address. If you want help assessing your pillars at the full pillar assessment, just let me know. I'm happy to have a discussion with you. But here are some questions to ask your team, and I want you to rank each one on a scale of 1 to 10. With our elite leadership system, assess your leadership pillar. Leading. Rank your current leadership program, development program on a scale of 1 to 10. How would you rank it? How engaged is your entire team on a scale of 1 to 10? Rank the level of dynamic communication, communication that empowers, that's happening right now in your organization on a scale of 1 to 10. How would you rank accountability with your team? The idea that everybody has personal responsibility and keeps everybody informed. And how unifying is your current culture? You can add all those up, and you'll have a possible score out of 50. And that will tell you the strength of your pillar. Now we can also assess the strength of your strategic planning pillar, pillar 2. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well does your team, your entire team, utilize a strategic plan? They don't have to all use it or all use all of it, but they can all use some of it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well are your leaders supporting the plan? On a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you have your 3 to 5 year goals mapped out? Because now we're looking into the future. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you have your short-term goals identified? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how well does your entire team, the entire team, understand your plan? Can you imagine if you had people who thought and acted like leaders, who took initiative and said, hey, how can I help with your plan? What would the likelihood be of accomplishing everything in that plan? 100%. All right, and your last pillar, pillar 3, selling. Here's some questions to ask. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is the productivity level of your sales team? Not the busyness level, the productivity level. On a scale of 1 to 10, how often does your sales team earn unsolicited referrals? On a scale of 1 to 10, rank the current level of sales support for your sales team. How well does everyone support sales? On a scale of 1 to 10, rank the level of follow-up from your sales team. And if their follow-up is only as good as, hey, just checking in, circling back, touching base, or following up, that's a 0. I'm talking about relevant, meaningful touches on a scale of 1 to 10. And last but not least, on a scale of 1 to 10, rank the strength of your current sales system, which means that you have a system with defined steps that everyone is using the same. Not like most sales teams where they say, well, I kind of do it this way. That tends to throw the whole thing off. Now, here's where we can help you. We can help you by assessing where your pillars are and where you need to get them. This is critical. You have the opportunity right now to strengthen all of your pillars. And I want to encourage you. You took the time out to be on this call. See how we're doing on time. I mean, geez, come on. Right on 3:30 on the dot. Telling you. I want you to assess where you need to be during COVID and after COVID, because we are in the transition right now. If you want your organization greater, you have to define where you want to be. You have to strengthen each pillar. And as you're strengthening each pillar, you are teaching your team to become fluent in leading, planning, and selling. I want to compliment you for being on this webinar today. The next step is email me, call me, and I'll help you strengthen your pillars. But get this information to your team. Your level of greatness is far too important to leave it to chance. All right, everybody, we are heading out on the other side. We are transitioning out of COVID-19 into a newer, better, greater, enhanced future. Thanks so much for taking your time to join us today. Myself and the entire Think Great team is here to support you and your entire organization. Have an amazingly great day.